Okay, I'm just getting the live stream monitoring sorted out so I can watch the comments and make sure the live stream's actually working. I think we're just about there. Okay, that looks good. As you can see, it's already dark, so I'm flying this in from the UK, but obviously in Sweden in the simulator. So it's 4 PM in the UK, so it's probably 5 or 6 PM in Sweden. It's already dark. So we'll see how we get on. So looking inside the aeroplane, we've obviously got the torch on. Now there is a shortcut key, isn't there, to turn the torch on and off. Should we go and have a look at that to find out what it is? Control options, search. Let's have a search on the keyboard mapping for torch. Okay then, light. Toggle, that's the aircraft lights. Flashlights, there we go. Alt and L will turn the flashlight on and off. That's worth knowing, because we may need it, because as soon as we provide power to the aeroplane, it will go completely dark. We won't be able to see anything. So just having a look outside, you can see it's cold. Yeah, a very, very snowy Kiruna. So we'll see how we get on. Okay, so I'm going to refer to the checklist I wrote up some time ago. I'll try to remember to put a link to it in the comments of the video once we have finished recording. So to begin with, Control 8 takes us overhead, and battery goes to on or up, and there we go. So do we actually get lights on around the aircraft automatically? That's rather interesting. I wasn't expecting that. So Control 9 takes us further overhead. We put the APU main to on. Air conditioning, left main to on. Okay. APU section, second column at the top, that's over here. Ensure 10 seconds has elapsed since the APU main went on. It has. APU to start, press the start button. And wait for the door to open. APU, so blah 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 blah. Monitor RPM above the APU section, so that's up here. Start light extinguishes, wait for 100% RPM. So start light has extinguished, and we're waiting for 100%. And then once that's done, Gen 3 to on or up. That's this one here. So we're at 100%, so on. And there we go, we've lost our lights. So I'm going to press Alt and L to give myself the torch back. So we essentially have power coming from the APU now. Now I'm not overly familiar with where the light switches are in this aircraft, so you'll have to bear with me for a moment while I have a dig around and look around the aeroplane. So I'm just refamiliarizing myself. It's ages since I've flown this thing. So that's all the APU pressures. That's the anti-icing, electrical. You've got the seat belts and no smoking. So I'm guessing the internal lights must be further down in the cockpit somewhere. And the simulator's frozen. Well done, Flight Sim. Yep, there we go. So we've got the external lights and we've got the internal lights. So, and I know it's the externals as well. Okay, so where are the cabin lights? Are they back here somewhere? No. Let's get this out of the way. So landing lights. That's the pumps for the fuel. You'd think I would know this by now, wouldn't you? Aha, flood. That's what we want. Alt L. We have floodlights, hurrah. But that's not going to help us overhead. So is this the floodlight for the overhead? No, it's not. Panel, instrument, lighting. Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. So is there another floodlight somewhere hidden in a bizarre place? Because if we press Alt and L again, well, we've got some switches, but not many. How very, very odd. So let's turn this one on, and this one's already on. There's another one hidden. So that's the engine instrument lights. Isn't it amazing how they hide the light switches all over the place? So it's quite rare that I do night flights with these aircraft, so that's why I'm having such trouble with it. I bet if we press L, yeah, let's turn them all on, but where were the other switches? Although saying that, look, Alt L, we've got some light overhead, but not much. So I am going to turn the head torch back on just while we're running through the startup procedures. Okay, so let's get back on track, shall we? So we've got the APU up and running, so Control 7 takes us back to the central pedestal. Master radio, which we have to look up to see, I seem to remember. 1 to on forward, so rear at the right, here we go. So master radio, on, on. Then back overhead, emergency exit lights at the bottom left, emergency exit to armed. So here's the emergency exit light, that goes to armed. So I'm following my own instructions basically. And this is loosely based on the instruction that come with the aircraft, but with a lot of the tests removed. So windshield heating at the bottom right. If the exit area is less than 20, left and right go to low. So there we go. Set the cruise altitude in the top window, so here we go. So we're going to go to 25,000 feet. This is already showing 19. So we need to set this, and this will obviously pressurize the cabin appropriately while we're in flight. Where did we get to? So eyebrow panel, no smoking to on or up. So that's here, and the seatbelt sign goes to on. Master control panel, control 2. So nav 1 to on. So where were the... Nav 2 to on, or DME. Flight director, mode to heading. Heading as required. So to do that, I seem to remember we have to look down here to see the heading bug. And we've got the heading knob up here with the triangular end on it. So what's the direction of the runway we're taking off from? So we're going to be taking off runway 03, but the actual direction is 24 degrees. So we'll move the heading bug round to 24. So 10, 20... it's about there somewhere. It's difficult to see from here, isn't it? 10:24-ish. That's as good as we're going to get, I think. So we've done the heading pitch command to 10 degrees. So this is just a visual reference. So we can move this up, and you can see this moving up here. So that's going to be 5 degrees. That will be 10 degrees. Let's just check that on the attitude indicator. That looks about right. And then in the section in the middle is the course, and we're going to go and set that to our takeoff direction as well. Although, saying that, we actually want to be flying 155 degrees into the yeah, let's set it to 155. That will make sense, wouldn't it? So a heading bug is the runway direction, and then the course is the initial VOR. So course 155, and nav1 should be on 113.0. So 1, interesting. Or 1300. So has this come alive already? No, I didn't expect it would actually. What's the range on this, by the way? So let's have a look at it. I think it's 60 miles. Oh, it's 80 miles. So we're less than 80 miles away, but we may not be enough altitude to see it yet. I don't think this has any switch between GPS and... because I haven't got GPS installed. Okay, we'll leave that for the moment. So heading mode is done, pitch command is done, nav1 is done, so then we can press B to calibrate the altimeters, we can press D to calibrate the directional gyros if we need to. We can use the altitude set to the initial climb altitude, and I'm trying to remember how you do that. Here it is down here. So we're going to go straight out to our cruise altitude, which will be 25,000 feet. Okay. Then we go back to the center pedestal, turn the nav lights to on. So, of course I turned all the lights on already, didn't I? I used the L key on the keyboard, which is kind of, yeah, lights the whole plane up like a Christmas tree. ATC transponder section, which is over here. We want to go to standby, and squawk mode goes to C, even though we're not using ATC, so it really doesn't matter. And then we're going to get ready to do engine start. So we'll come and look over at the tablet. And how do we get back to the home page on the tablet? That's a really good question. Ah, there we go. So we want to go to the aircraft page. Cancel that. Get rid of the chocks. Make sure any doors are closed. They are closed. So then go back to the engine gauges, Control 3. Set the thrust index as appropriate. So I'm going to leave them stock because I haven't got a table in front of me with the thrust index levels. But I think it's looking so... I've only got numbers here for a kind of normal summer weather, which is at 1013 hectopascals. You'd be looking at 20 centigrade at 170. Yeah, interesting that we can click on the data cards and that will set the rotate speeds. I'm guessing that's for the callouts. I can't remember with this aeroplane. So let's go back down then. Control 7, gust lock. Remove it. So that is the... I'm guessing that is the gust lock. I'm just going to go and turn on, because there's no label on it. It's a while since I've looked at this aeroplane, so I'm just going to go and have a quick look at the tooltips. Apply, go back, resume. Is that the gust lock? It's not going to tell us, is it? Ah, there is a label there. Okay, so we can go back in there and turn off the labels because they're really annoying. Apply, resume. Okay, so that's that done. We've already done the anti-collision lights because we turned all the lights on. Press Control 6, go to booster pumps, left, booster pumps, forward and after on. So booster pumps, forward, aft, forward, aft. Overhead, Control 9, start master to on or up. So there's the start master, it goes to on. And so to do left engine start, in the engine section we put start selector to 2. I've written this backwards, haven't I? So we're looking for 15% on the engine gauges. Have I done this correctly? Hang on a second. Let's go and retrace my steps. I've just looked at that and realised this has been written in here all this time and I've written it backwards. So start engine selector to 2. Surely the air should be on to do that. Bleed air supplies on auto, on. Yeah, here it comes. And the controls have just glitched. So then we can advance to start, monitor until we get to 50% HP RPM and 400. So keep an eye on it. Waiting for it to get to 50%. Yeah, I'm going to need to revise these controls and or this step by step. We've just seen the relay kick in as the engines start generating electricity. So then the valve goes to open. So then Control 6, yeah, we've done that. So the other engine, we go Control 8, 9 even, will take us further overhead. Go for the left engine start. We can see the RPM coming up, so we're waiting for 15 to 20% RPM. Advance the fuel valve to start, and it will carry on round to 50, and you should see the turbine gas temperature start to increase. There it goes. I must have just missed. I'm going to have to go and double check the checklist later. I must have just missed turning the air on while I was busy looking at other things. So we're waiting for it to come up to 50%, and then we advance the fuel condition lever to open, or fuel valve. There we go. so that's done. So post engine start, we go and turn the start master back to off. Gen 3 to off. Air to off. Yeah, I just missed that earlier. Main to off. So that will switch off the APU. And then we can turn the right main to on over on the bleed air. So then Control 8 takes us back overhead. Engine anti-icing, fourth column at the bottom. So that's down here. Both to auto or down. It's done. Windshield heating, both on low, that's good. And pitot and vane heating, both to on or up. So essentially we can prepare for taxi now. So typically we want 18 degrees of flaps. So we'll go and have a look and see what sort of mess the cockpit's in. I'm just making sure the levers are correctly working. Are we going to get 18 degrees? I think that's 18. Let's just double check that. Yep, there we go. 18 degrees of flaps for takeoff. Set trim as required. Typically 5 units of nose up. So there is a trim gauge somewhere around here. It's on the instrument panel, isn't it? Nose up. Stab trim. Yeah, it's already on 5 degrees nose up. That's good. So down here we want the taxi lights to on. I think they're already going to be on. Yes, they are, because we lit the aeroplane up when we were messing around in the dark. And we can essentially taxi to the runway now. I haven't done the pushback, obviously, so I'm doing things a little bit out of step. So I'm going to do the pushback with the engines running. I'll come off the parking brake when the tractor is hooked up. So while we're doing that, let's go and have a look on the map. So we want to be pushed back, or we want to turn left after being pushed back, so we're going down this end. Go, take off the parking brake. I'll have to try and remember how the autopilot works in a few moments. It's ages since I've flown the F28. So it looks like we follow left, right, and then backtrack. Okay, so get rid of the truck, put the parking brake on. That was interesting, the truck just vanished. Okay, let's turn the head tracking on at this point. Okay, we have no nose wheel steering. What's going on? Do I need to pull the controller? Was that the glitch we saw again? I'm having nightmares with controllers at the moment. Ah. That will be because it seems fit to put the tractor back on. It's sort of glitch city at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, we have nose wheel steering now. So can we switch off the tablet easily? Is there a hidden click spot for it? Maybe if we just pull up the OFP because it's dark anyway. So can we pre-select heading mode? Oh, let's press Alt and L, wasn't it? Yeah, can we pre-select heading mode before we're using it? Doesn't look like it. Anything up on the radio yet for the first waypoint, or the first VOR station I should say. Okay. Just backtracking along the wrong way.
Come through, please take your seats with you.
Cabin is secure.
Okay, so final check around. We've got the course set, we've got the heading bug set, and we are pointing the same direction as the heading bug. So we can go. Let's try this again. Yeah, it won't let us pre-select heading mode, which is interesting, unless we've got the autopilot on. I'm just going to press Alt-L for a moment so I can actually see this in some detail. So that's the autopilot master switch. Let's just check it works. Yep, I've got that mapped to a button, which is really good. Okay, I think we're ready to go.
Power set.
It's quite a strong crosswind. just watching that 10-degree reference on the climb out. So flaps can come up. Starting to trim gently.
Set climb power.
Okay, so we're climbing on heading bug mode, we're holding pitch, which is fine. Coming out about 10 degrees. The pitch reference is miles out, obviously. We can tune that back out in a moment, so we'll do that now actually. It's just a visual reference. It's interesting how that does vary it so much, look. Anyway. Let's look out the window and have a look at this amazing scenery, didn't we, on the way out? 'Cause in the dark it's probably going to look pretty amazing. Keep an eye on the airspeed. We're fine for this initial climb. So let's have a look on the map, see where we are. So we're just, we're climbing out in a straight line, but we're going to turn there anyway. So we're going to spin this heading bug round. I'm going to take the... Coming out to 8,000 feet, so we... Whoops, heading bug, there we go. Let's bring the heading bug round to... something going on with... Yeah, this makes sense, look, we're just going to the left of the course. So nav is working. We've got 72 miles showing, so it's right out on the limits of its range actually. So we're coming through 10,000 feet. So the landing lights can come off. And these ones. And the taxi light can come off as well. Obviously we've come through the barometric pressure as well. I'm a little bit behind the game here, so we're going to go to 2992 now. There's another one. I can never remember in different aeroplanes. So yeah, these are not synchronized by the look of it. 2992. I thought there was another one here, but maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of a different aeroplane. So you can see we're just off to the left of the track at the moment, so we'll go and change the... Actually, let's try it. Let's go for beam mode. And it's going to correct for us, look. We were close enough to it. So we're now just climbing. We're going to take the climb rate out of this a bit though. So let's go for indicated airspeed mode. So if we just come down here, we're only doing 160 knots at the moment. What is it doing? It's throwing the nose in the air. Let's give it. No, I'm not gonna allow that. So it's just going back onto the track. So we'll let it accelerate, so let's come back off. Can we turn pitch mode off? Presumably I just have to switch autopilot off entirely to change the pitch, which is a bit odd. do it anyway. Right. Now we'll accelerate. Bit of a hack going on there. So there's the airfield we left behind. We appear to have some wing lights on. Let's go and have a look. See if we can turn those off. Ice inspection lights are on, yeah. There we go. Okay, should we try and dim some of these lights down a little bit now? We don't need them quite so bright. Now we kind of are slowly learning where all the switches are. Good. Coming up to 19,000 feet. We're still not accelerating a great deal, are we? 1,000 feet a minute. The pitch up and down controls are here. So this is in pitch mode. Now, I just remembered how this works. We're bringing the pitch down, which will give us our speed back. We'll bring the throttles back to about 90%. So we're now climbing about 700-800 feet a minute, and the speed is slowly increasing. Where are we on the route? Let's have a look. So we come up really steeply actually, but that's obviously because it wasn't a straight line flight anyway. We dog-legged around, and now we're coming in towards the first VOR. So we'll be up to 25,000 feet. We can get rid of that warning that was from earlier when we were messing around with the speed and everything. So the lights here tell us what mode the autopilot is operating in. Okay. It's always strange getting into a plane you've not been in for a long time and trying to remember how things work. Just remembered you can click on the air vent to get rid of the tablet, which is always quite useful. Although saying that, in here I have got the operational flight plan, which is quite useful sometimes. That's got our route look. So we're going towards the NAT VOR at the moment, then we'll go to the SLU. Let's find the proper names for them. So the NAT VOR, its real name is NATA, and SLU is Lilia. So obviously we're following the beam in towards NATA at the moment. Should we go max power for a while? Just keep an eye on that we don't go into the red anywhere. Reduce that climb rate again. So it's down here, wasn't it? Unfortunately, it's really difficult to look at and look at the vertical speed at the same time. That's about right. So Sean is saying, looks like a cool plane, reminds me of the DC-9. Yeah, it's of its era, isn't it? But obviously we're flying it in the dark, which makes things doubly difficult because you can't really see anything if you don't know your way around it properly to begin with. So I'm making it difficult for myself on purpose. But it's pretty good. So we're in beam mode. Nav is tuned in to 113, course 155. So you can see that here. We will be going over to 11510, which is a straight line basically. Might be interesting actually to tune in. I don't know if we get DME on Nav2 though, thinking about it. I think you can only flick between the two. It's not as clever as some of the other aircraft. Let's try it. Let's see if we can. I think this is pretty much, yeah, this is showing just Nav1. You can't have both. So you'd end up having to put it into heading mode. So if we did that, for example, just line up the heading bug, we could sit it in heading mode and then flick between Nav1 and Nav2 to see if we're picking up Nav2. What is the range on this one? We could draw these in, couldn't we? So show information for the layout. So 60 miles, yeah, it's only short range. So add range rings, put a 60-mile range on that one. What about this one? This has got an 80-mile range. So add range rings. And then let's have a look at this one. So this has got 60 miles again. Add range rings, so we can see the overlaps basically. So we know at what point we can get away with tuning into the next VOR station. So we're coming up to 25,000 feet soon. Another just over 1,000 feet to go. Thrust levels here, we're not doing great in terms of power. Should we put the weather radar on? I'm not sure if it actually works. Give it the benefit of the doubt and hope that it does. So the klaxon you heard is just that we were within 1,000 feet of our target altitude on the altitude selector. So when you're in pitch mode, it will go over to altitude hold automatically when it hits the target altitude. Well, that's the plan anyway. So we'll go to height mode. So get ready. Watch the vertical speed wind down as we get closer to it. Hopefully. There it goes. It's gone to height mode. And it's winding out the vertical speed automatically. So we can see the number winding down to the VOR. So we'll know when we are about how far. So let's do a measure on the map. When we're about 15 miles from net, the other side of it, we should start picking up SLU. So there's no point tuning into it until that happens. I don't think the Just Flight aircraft simulate degradation of radio signal. I know the black square aircraft do it. How are we doing for speed? Just out of interest. So the vane heating is on. The windshield heating is on low. I'm just wondering if we're getting any false readings at all, but it looks like it's okay actually. This isn't the fastest aeroplane in the world. So it's just creeping up to about 250 knots, going flat out basically. Engines are pushed to the stops. Okay, so we have a long journey ahead of us to get down to. At this sort of speed, it's going to take a while anyway. Just creeping over 250 knots at last look. Coming in towards the Nata VOR, out towards, did we call it Celia? Show information on, Lulia, sorry. It's going to be an interesting one using VORs only to arrange the flight in, because we do have ILS, but what we'll have to do, and we're going to run out of range of this ILS as we fly out in this direction, so we'll go to heading mode when we're out over the island here, and then track the course into this VOR as we maintain that heading, and then switch to the ILS once we've turned to match this course of 310. So we'll have to do a little bit of lateral thinking to put ourselves in the right place in the sky. But it's obviously we can cheat because we've got a LittleNavMap to verify that what we're thinking we're doing is correct. Okay, so we can sit back and relax for a bit really. It's very cool to watch the light patterns, isn't it? How are we doing for speed? Oh, we are creeping up, aren't we? So we're going to have to start moderating the throttles a little bit. Just give ourselves a visual reference on that. So obviously this gives us a marker now of if we're going faster or slower. We're going faster than the reference, so we're going to come off the throttle gently. Obviously it takes a while for any changes to happen, so we're just looking at the output on the two engines. And keeping an eye on this needle of whether this is moving away from it or not. So if we line that back up, we pretty much don't want to go any faster than this, so we're still creeping faster. So I've just come off the throttle a little bit, down to about 89%, and it seems to be about right. Yes, it is, yeah. We're slowing down a little bit below that now. It's so tricky to get it right. I'm just increasing the throttle gently to about 94% maybe. See if this comes back up towards the circle. It's looking about right. We seem to have stabilized it. So while we're in the cruise, should we go down and say hello to the passengers that don't exist? It's very dark in here, isn't it? Do we have cabin light controls? Not sure that we do. Or if we do, I don't know where they are. That's just the breakers, isn't it? It could be around here though, saying that. Reading lights, main cabin lights. That's the breakers for them. Cabin lights, here we go. Right. So there we go. See what we're doing now. So what else do we have access to? We can make a call. We got the phone level on high, steward SPA. So we can hold that on and talk. Music. I ought to be careful with music. It'll probably cause a copyright strike, knowing the way people act on YouTube with claiming that they own everything. We're overspeeding, by the way. That's that sound you can hear. Yeah, we're just overspeeding. So I've just dipped the throttle a little bit, which has pulled us back away from overspeeding. You can see that needle has just gone. So what we're going to do is bring this a bit further away from the maximum, and maybe the wind's changed slightly. Looking a bit happier. So we're 42 miles past that now, so we can change over to 11510. So what we can do to do that is put 11510 over on nav 2, and switch over to it. We should find now, this is now counting down. But the course is wrong, obviously. So we'll be gone, yeah, look, it's gone to roll hold mode as we switched radios, which is a really good job because we haven't set the heading for nav2, so that needs to be 155 still. And then we should still be on the beam or thereabouts, so we can go to beam mode and the aeroplane will correct itself and do a left turn and pull that back in. So you can see we just drifted away. So then while we're flying into that one, we can tune nav1 back into 11340. So 11340, and our next course for nav1 will be 196 degrees. Okay, so we'll go and do that ahead of time as well. I hate I think there's two knobs here, isn't there? And I'm just hitting the wrong ones at the wrong time. 196. No, there is only one. It's just the acceleration. Okay, so when we get within a few miles of SLU, we'll change. We'll go to heading mode and fly 196. It's probably the easiest way to do it. So, Nick Andrews is saying, "Hi Jonathan, just wanted to say thank you for the videos you make. They're always informative and easy to understand without any glitz and glamour that some YouTubers seem to think we need." Yeah, I'm just an aviation enthusiast. I'm not a real pilot, so it's me sharing what I learn and explaining what I've learned along the way, and maybe, you know, just talking along while I'm doing stuff. It's an interesting one that people seem to think I'm good at explaining things. I think it's very easy for the skilled, qualified pilots out there to take things for granted, whereas I tend to find everything is interesting. So, you know, the thought processes behind what you're doing I find really fascinating. So we're just coming out along the coast now. 12 miles to go until we get to the VOR. Remember, we're on nav2 at the moment, so we're flying in towards Luleå. What was the name of this one? I'm going to horribly wreck this name, aren't I? Skylake. I'm not sure where the stresses go on the word. So obviously that's a town down here, like Skylake. So what we can do, knowing that we're going to turn to 196, we can go to heading mode just before we get to the VOR and turn the aircraft towards 196 degrees. So we've already got the heading bug lined up on the direction we're actually going. And then once we're lined up on 196, we'll switch the nav back to nav1. So 5 miles to run. So you can see that happening. So we'll go to heading mode now. Four miles. We might actually lose the signal when we're directly overhead. I wouldn't be surprised. You can see that happening. So yeah, let's go for 196 then. So heading bug. It's going to be about there, isn't it? Just looking at the compass here, I've got it about right. 180, 190, 196. So we're in heading bug mode, remember. We can go to nav1 now. So So the aeroplane's going to level itself back out. We're just off to the left of the track. So we can just go to beam mode. We're close enough and it will take over and adjust us back onto it. Yeah, we overshot, look. Okay, so we're obviously in range of 11340, which is tuned in on Nav1. And it's counting down now 54 miles. I think it was a 60-mile range, wasn't it? So it's counting down 54 miles until we get there. And then we're going to have some fun and games flying kind of 50 miles away from it. Or, you know, right out to the limit of its range, going to heading mode, but then tuning in. So it might be worth switching this over, predicting we really want Nav1, I guess, to make things simple in our head when we get to the other end. So let's go and match the settings on Nav2 and switch over to it. So 196, 113, 40. And then switch to Nav2 instead. Now that's gone to roll hold mode because we changed frequencies, but we can put beam back on. And we're doing exactly the same thing but using Nav2 instead. The reason I'm doing that is I want to set this up for Nav1. So we'll just change the course when we get overhead SCAR on Nav2. But we'll go to heading mode as we go overhead because we'll probably lose signal anyway. So what I want to do on Nav1 is set up 310 degrees to 11410. So 11410 and 310 degrees, which is the same as the ILS. Hopefully it will all make sense. We need to think about descending as well. We're still at 25,000 feet, so probably 75 miles to descend. So we probably want to descend as soon as we get to SCAR or thereabouts. It's saying on the performance for a Fokker F28 1000 to come down, yeah, 70 miles out. The only reason I said 75, I was thinking 25,000 feet, so times 3 would be 75 miles at 3,000 feet. Well, you know how it works. It's a 3-to-1 calculation, isn't it? Distance versus height. I think that works out coming down at about 1,800 feet a minute, usually. Yeah, I always use that 3-to-1 in my head, but obviously this looks like this airplane can come down a little bit more steeply, probably because if you look at it, it's not very aerodynamic, so it's a bit of a brick, so it probably doesn't glide that wonderfully, so you can come down that much more steeply without losing airspeed, or sorry, without gaining airspeed. Just laying down some chemtrails. Okay, so for later on, let's go and have a quick look at the information for the airfield we're going to. So, oh, that's a nice easy number to remember, 300, or 3,000, sorry, on the barometric pressure. What's the wind doing? Is it still good for us? 310 degrees, 12 knots. Yeah, that's fine. What about the cloud? I didn't see anything there. No, there's hardly any cloud around. Okay, cool. So we'll switch to pitch mode when we start descending. Yeah, we could go a little bit faster, but we had so much trouble stabilizing speed earlier, I'm not going to push it. Happy cruising along just below 90% on the engines. We could go a tiny bit faster, I guess. And we'll see how we go. Yeah, so Sean's saying I didn't know about the 3-to-1 rule for a long time. It's just a rule of thumb, it's nothing official. Different airplanes obviously have different calculations, but it's just a rule of thumb for most airliners. I was actually taught it by the guys at My Air that I've flown quite a lot of group flights with, where they use ATC, and yeah, they've been a mine of information for things like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put myself on heading mode, because the wind is not, it's very stable up here. So we'll get the heading bug lined up exactly on the direction we're going. Probably there. Okay, so we'll go to heading mode. And that will mean we can go and change the course without messing the airplane up. And we're going to switch the course over to 180 degrees. Okay, so course for this one, remember, we're going to turn left to 180. So you will see the HSI now. So when the course deviation indicator needle comes in, we'll do our left turn on the heading and then go back to beam mode. So we're still 14 miles out. But as we get closer to, you imagine, to this, if we draw the reverse direction on this, measure the distance from here. So if we go the opposite kind of direction, so as we get closer to that angle, you'll see the course deviation indicator come in. And then we'll just, remember we're on heading mode at the moment, so we'll just bring the heading bug round and then switch back over to beam mode. Or we could just go to beam mode as the CDI comes in and it will chase it for us. So I think it's when it's within inside the first dot, it will automatically capture it. Or you know, it will capture it, I should say, not automatically. Let's keep an eye on that CDI needle. It should be coming in. We're only 7 miles out now, so it's quite a shallow angle as well. We're not making a huge change here. Where's the CDI? 5.4. Of course, it's not out of reason that if we had been on beam mode, we would have lost it overhead anyway. So I will go heading bug mode. You don't always lose the signal as you go overhead. It will just flick from to from. So you can see at the moment we've got the 2 markers showing, and that it'll be interesting to see if it just flicks over. It should do, but it may vanish completely. Depends. Different units work in different ways. Yeah, we've lost the distance look. And yeah, we lost signal entirely. So I'm going to change the heading bug to match now. And we've overshot it, look. At the point we lost the signal, we overshot. But it's fine. We're only off by a small amount. Obviously this needle will come back in as we fly away. The closer you are to the VOR station, the more marked the difference looks. So we can just put ourselves on a slight intercept course. You can see the needle coming in as we get further away. That's really what's happening here. So we can go back to beam mode. And it will take over. Okay, so I'm going to start descending. So our new height we want to be at will be for landing, which will be 2,500 feet. And we'll go to pitch mode and come off the throttles a bit and start adjusting pitch down. And try not to let it go too mad. So the pitch control's here in the dark. So I'm going to push it a bit more. It doesn't like the throttles being that low, does it? What's going on? Where are we getting? Oh, it's the undercarriage horn silencer. We just shut that up. Okay, so we can have a look on here and see our rate of descent. So we're not quite going down steeply enough. So we're going to push this again. Yeah, we probably want about 2,000-ish because we've fallen a little bit behind anyway. Let's push this forwards a bit more. Yeah, that's better. We're already slowing down even in a 2,000 feet a minute descent look. So this thing is so unaerodynamic, it will slow down in quite a steep descent. So I'm having to open the throttles up to maintain a sensible speed. So we're now 20 miles away from the VOR. So the next thing we need to think about is at 10,000 feet, putting the landing lights on, and then at 6,000 feet, changing the barometric pressure to 3,000. It's only a small change. So we're pretty much nailed on the descent rate. It's looking good. We could do with being below this estimate in LittleNavMap though, because ideally, yeah, it's going to put us too high. So we need to come down more steeply than we are. That's, yeah, it's when you get to 50% that comes on. So I'm not allowed to get below 50% on the throttles on this thing, so let's just push this in for a bit steeper descent rate. It's difficult to see it in the dark. Just watching this. what I want to do is come down earlier to give myself more time to be at 2,500 feet to get into the ILS. Okay, so we tuned this into the ILS earlier on, if you remember. Or no, we tuned it into the VOR station, didn't we? So when we get out towards kind of 50 miles, we'll go to heading mode, and then we'll switch over to Nav 1, which will give us this. Or do we go straight for ILS? I wonder if we can get the signal from all the way out here. Probably can. But I think no, once we're on track, we'll switch over to the ILS frequency. It will mean quite a bit of juggling, which is not really advisable when you don't know the airplane brilliantly, but we'll see. So come back off the throttles a bit, we're at 250. Oh, there goes the buzzer again. Stupid design. Okay, we're looking good. So we're now at 35 miles out from the previous. So what we could do is just go to heading mode at this point. So we'll line heading mode up. So we maintain that same direction, as close as we think we can. Go back to heading mode. What's this complaining about? So we're trundling in. Let's just adjust that out slightly by 1 degree, just to get it will start to drift, look. Maybe a couple of degrees would be useful. And then we can switch to Nav 1, and we can see the turn we're going to need to make. Now, without knowing the aeroplane, I'm not sure what the turn radius might be, so it's going to be a difficult one to estimate. But we can switch back to Nav 2 to monitor how far away we are from the one behind us. So ideally, oh, here we go again. Every time I look away from it, it buzzes. If I look at it, it doesn't buzz. That's funny. So if we imagine, if we draw a distance here, we probably need to be turning about that distance away. So at 57 miles out. And we'll start that turn. Yeah, so thinking, if you think about doing that radius, I'm not sure what the radius will be, but we'll figure that out. Let's pull our target airspeed back. Just coming down to 10,000 feet. So the landing lights can come back on. Should find out we're lit up like a Christmas tree now. So there's the airfield, I think. So we're going out over the water and then turning back in. Oh no, it's off to our right. Tell a lie. Airfield's over there somewhere. So did we say 57 miles? So we're at 50. Getting a bit of turbulence. How are we doing for speed? We're going quite fast, so let's start slowing down. We'll have to hit the buzzer. Silencer. Oh, the speed brake has come on. The controls had glitched. I've just toggled the speed brake and it's gone back off again. Interesting. There's been a continual source of frustration with the Airbus quadrant for me ever since I first had it. Sometimes the speed brake comes on. Okay, so coming out to 54, I wouldn't be surprised if we lost signal because I think this only has 60-mile range and we're wanting to go at 57 to turn, so we'll see what happens. So we'll go back to nav 1. Actually, let's just keep an eye on this. 56, 1 mile to go until we turn, if we've got this right. We're going way too fast. Now I have got the speed brake on because I need it on, so this is giving us our initial lineup. We're not going to be a million miles away from it, are we? Pretty much nailed it. So then we change the frequency to 11070. And this should light up with the ILS very soon. There's the runway. You see we're off to the left. Is it an offset ILS? No, we're just off to the left. So we've got the glide slope showing up, which is good. So I'm just putting us on a... Yeah, we just lost the signal. We haven't got it at the moment. It's gone to height mode at 2,500 feet. So let's go and get the... What are we doing for speed? Right, let's take over. I quite often see this where people struggle with the autopilot trying to control it in time, especially if you get behind the aeroplane. It's just safer to get, to take control. Let's get our view something like so we can see everything we need. Waiting for the glide slope to come down. I was expecting it to happen, but this looks like we're incredibly high. Unless it is a steep glide slope. I'm guessing we are using that one, aren't we? Yeah. 11170. Let me just check that. Oh, it's 11070. That would be why. There we go. That would be why. Done.
Flaps 42.
Done. And here comes the glide slope. Again, that's the Rookie error there with putting the wrong frequency in.
Speed. Speed. Speed.
Yes, I heard you the first
Speed.
time. There we go. 130 knots should be fine. We're still high. Stabilized. That's about right. Floated it a bit, but oh well. Oh, big glitch. Wonder what that was. Let's put the air brakes out. But again, it's just practice with the aeroplane with floating, really. So, tempted to say you'll float too. Anybody who's not seen it won't get the joke. Okay, let's get off the runway. Taxi light goes to on. If we can click on it, and the head tracking is not going to let us. There it goes. And while we were busy fishing around in the cockpit, we nearly went onto the grass. Flaps are up, gears retracted, sorry, spoilers are retracted. Are our wings actually clearing these snowbanks? Perhaps that isn't the exit to use if you're in an aircraft with not great clearance. Should we pull in right in front of the terminals, just for a laugh? Okay, so obviously in the real world you go and, while we were taxiing we could have been putting the APU back on. We can cheat I think in this aeroplane. Let's have a look. We can go and put the ground power in place, put the shocks in place. Should we put the no, would Jetway put these stairs on for us? Do we have to do forward passenger door first. Will that give us some stairs? Apparently not. Oh well. It's worth a go, wasn't it? Should we open up some of the other things around the aeroplane, just to see what they look like? Obviously we can shortcut as well in the tablet. We can say I want to go for cold and dark, and it shortcuts everything in the blink of an eye and powers the aeroplane down. And it's actually closed the door as well, which is interesting. Oh, there goes the ground power as well. So it really has put it to bed. Okay, so this airfield, I've covered it in other videos, so I'm not going to go walking around it today. But this is the... I'm going to get the name of the airport wrong again, aren't I? So it's Umeå, not Umeå, although it's spelt that way to an English-speaking person. The A with a circle above it is O. So Umeå. Well, that's as far as my research took it. So there we go, that was the F28 from Just Flight. It's great fun to fly. It's very manual, so you do have these kind of strategies you build up over time of how you use the radios, and you can see I obviously almost got behind the aeroplane on descent and only got it under control in the last few miles, mainly because I put the wrong frequency into Nav1. So I was wondering when we were going to pick up the glide slope, and of course we didn't because I had it tuned into the wrong frequency. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. So there we go, the F28 from Just Flight and the Orbex scenery. This is part of the triple pack for Sweden that they've just released recently. Right, I'll see you again soon. Take care.